Hello everyone and welcome to our annual revenue streams breakdown video. This is the 9th year that I'm doing this, and if you are new here, hi, hello, I'm Hannah. I'm a content creator, have been making YouTube videos for 15 years, and I love being transparent about this industry and everything that's going on. And one of the things that I like to do is every year I make a sexy pie chart. And this is a breakdown of all of the different places that I earned money as a content creator, as an influencer in the last year. The reason why I started doing this was because I didn't actually know how much money was coming from where. And when I did that initial calculation 9 years ago, I discovered that 80% of my income was coming from brand deals, and that terrified me because that is not diversified. And so since then, we've been on a little mission to diversify my revenue streams, keep it a nice healthy balance of coming from different places to protect me from changes in the industry. And I just kept making these videos because I love it. And I've treated you guys because every year some of you ask for some different kinds of charts, and oh boy, do I have a treat for you. So the data that we are going to be looking at today is from the 2025 to 2026 financial year. I have a limited company. The tax year runs from the end of March to the end of March. So that is the 12 months that we are looking at, from the 1st of April 2025 to the 31st of March 2026. It was a pretty consistent year for me content-wise. I wasn't particularly making any more videos than I usually would. I wasn't particularly making any less videos than I usually would, just consistent. I also continued my creator mentoring work, but with a bit less face time with actual clients. This year definitely kind of leaned more on the research and development side of that part of my career. Towards the end of this financial year, I reduced my video uploads very briefly whilst I was in IVF treatment. And then also during that time, there was a massive boost to my Patreon. So that is all going to be reflected in these numbers, or at least like 2 months of the increased Patreon amounts. And then the other thing that happened in this 12 months is that I started my coaching course. I technically started it mid-March, so very towards the end, but I did start paying for it in installments in December. That's more the expenses, which we'll get to. But overall, my revenue stayed pretty steady for the 3rd year in a row. If you've been around for a few years, you'll know that after I had my baby, my income absolutely plummeted that first year postpartum. I took mat leave and I returned to work part-time, but the revenue that my business is earning now has increased since then, and it's been pretty steady the last 3 years, but it is still much lower than it was before I had a baby. We've now entered my plateau era. And like I said, at the end, I'm going to be giving you what you have been asking for, which is more data on year comparisons rather than just looking at 1 year's pie chart at a time. And I'm very excited. I am not a statistician, but I hope I have done you justice with these charts that I have made. Okay, before I reveal the 2026 income revenue streams pie chart, a quick word from our sponsor, Squarespace. So whether you are just starting out in the freelance world or you're a small business owner, Squarespace makes it super easy to build your own beautiful website, engage your audience, and sell anything from physical and digital products to courses and even your time, all in one place and all on your terms. I've used Squarespace for years for my own professional websites, and I really recommend them. They are so easy and intuitive to use to build your own website with basically no website design experience. They have a huge library of professionally designed and award-winning templates. You just pick the one that feels right for you. They've got everything for every use case and category, and you can customize them with all of your own branding and assets. They are flexible, they have intuitive drag and drop, so you can really get creative. They've got beautiful styling options and loads of visual design effects too that are ready to go and built in on any Squarespace website. Squarespace also has great analytics to help you make better business decisions. You can review website traffic, learn where to focus engagement, and track revenue from bookings and sales. Speaking of sales, if you have an online store, then Squarespace Payments makes it super easy to manage all of your payments. Onboarding is really fast and simple, and there are loads of different options for how your customers can pay. So if you are in need of a website, then head to squarespace.com to start your free trial. And then when you are ready to launch into the world, you can go to squarespace.com/morehannah to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Okay, it's pie chart time. It's pie chart time. I love this time of year. I do. Right, here we go. Are we ready? Ba-ba-da-ba! Okay, we're gonna dive into each part of it. Don't you worry. But quick comparison to last year. So this is 2024 to 2025s, and this one is 2025 to 2026. As we can see, my revenue streams are actually less diversified. That's what just at a glance these pie charts are telling me. This last year, there's definitely like 3 main big chunks, and then just a handful of like little smaller chunks. Whereas last year, there's still like the 3 main big chunks. Other ones are taking up more room. I should have like figured out the percentages, but visually that's what I'm feeling. Okay, but let's focus in on this year's pie chart. So brand deals are coming in at 41.1%. Last year it was also around 40%, and I pretty much earned exactly the same. Like I said, it's been steady. We are in our plateau era. We're just in maintenance mode. Last year I was going through a real moment with feeling super jaded with brand deals and like the influencer marketing world at large. But whilst my values haven't changed, I think I'm less angry now, made peace a little bit with it. I was very frustrated. I would still like to do less brand deals that are better paid rather than lots of frequent low paid brand deals, which I have done a couple of in the last year, although one of them got paid after the end of this tax year, so that won't be included in this. But the lower paid ones are more predictable, more stable, and then like the higher paid ones are more sporadic and you can't really plan for them. There's basically been 4 brands that I've worked with repeatedly over the last few years. 2 of them have remained consistent, still working with on a regular basis. 1 has kind of disappeared, and another keeps postponing. Like I was meant to have done some videos with them already this year, but they keep pushing it back. And I don't have any regular replacements for those brands. And so that's just like another sign for me of the volatility of relying on brand deals as your main source of income. Granted, for me, it is still the highest percentage-wise, but it is by no means solely what I rely on. Which brings us to Patreon, which this year comes in at 33.6%. Last year, it was just under 29%. And as I mentioned, in the last 3 months of this tax year that we were looking at, my Patreon income doubled, which is crazy. And thank you all so much. It was people supporting me through going through IVF treatment and having to reduce my video uploads. And also I started writing blog style updates about the IVF process called the IVF Diaries over on Patreon. And so lots of people signed up for that. Last year, I was trying to make peace with my Patreon income going down, which was understandable, but it was still like painful for me to watch those numbers decrease. And this just shows to me that you never know what is around the corner. I do still have complicated feelings about lifestyle content in general and having a Patreon. The vast majority of people who support me on Patreon are at the lowest tier, which business brain Hannah was like, damn it, should have put it at the middle tier, because it's clearly a very desirable offering and it is giving a lot of myself. So maybe I should have paywalled it higher, but alas, what is done is done. And I do think it is very valuable and good to be like accessible to more people. The other thing that I'm finding hard is like obviously the difference between paid members versus engaged members. It's hard to know what's valuable to people. At the end of the year, I did a big like Patreon survey, and it was really interesting because there were some pieces of content that I make exclusively for Patreon that people in the survey were like, I love this. This is one of the things I really value. But when I post that, there's like crickets. It's like very little engagement. And so it's interesting the difference between like what people say and what people do. Also, I've been on Patreon for years and I am very aware that the vast majority of people who support other creators on Patreon are just doing it to support and actually like do not care about the perks and the extra content and things. That's the way I am with creators that I support on Patreon for the most part. I know logically in my head that there'll always be like less engagement on Patreon because people are just like, good for you. I don't need this, but great. Anyway, those are my Patreon thoughts. I am loving the 2.0 version of the book club that we are doing this year. I love the integration with using like the Storygraph read-alongs. So yeah, that feels really good. And yeah, like I said, you never know what's around the corner. Next up, my third biggest slice of the pie is Adsense. This is the money earned from the ads that YouTube, Google put on these videos. And this year it is at 18.3%, which is slightly up from a 17.1 last year. But it's a very similar amount. I find this incredibly reassuring just because it means that like my main bread and butter, which is YouTube, obviously like the AdSense isn't my main bread and butter, but all of the other work that I get, it's like YouTube is the main thing. Like these videos that I make is the main thing that I do. And so it's very reassuring that the views and the AdSense has stayed steady. In new news in YouTube AdSense world, YouTube announced a while ago that they're going to introduce dynamic ads on YouTube. I've yet to see this, but I'm crossing my fingers for it and I'm very interested to see how it plays out. Dynamic ads is basically very similar to how ads work on podcasts, if you're at all familiar with that. Essentially, what you just watched, the Squarespace ad in this video, that is not a dynamic ad because it is burned into the actual video file that I upload to YouTube. Dynamic ads would be some kind of like back-end thing on YouTube where instead of just one video being sponsored, you could have your whole channel sponsored for a set length of time. So a brand could be like, can we sponsor your channel for a month? And I film a separate ad, upload that to YouTube, and then that appears on every video on my entire channel for a whole month. And then after that, it disappears, it goes away, and maybe a new ad appears. And so I'm very excited. I love the idea of being able to upload YouTube videos that have like no ad segment in it. So like the actual video file is just pure content, and then the ads are something that get like dynamically added in separately. I really want that to happen. Okay, now we're getting into the smaller slices of the pie. So next up we have affiliates, which is at 0.6% this year. Last year it was at 1.6. It is massively down in percentage and amount. When I went hard on my like sex toy affiliate links, I went hard. If you don't know what an affiliate link is, it's essentially a trackable link to products, to services, and if anyone uses one of my links to purchase something, then I get commission. And back in my sex ed days, I had a lot of sex toy affiliate links and discount codes, and so people would use them a lot. The one thing I do like about affiliate links is that it's a revenue stream that is in your control because what you put in is what you get out. And I've said this before, there is huge money to be made in the lifestyle space with affiliate links, but I don't want that life. I don't want to be affiliate linking you every outfit I'm wearing, every, I was about to say makeup that I've got on, I don't really wear makeup, every piece of furniture or like home decor thing that you see in my home. I don't want that life. There's the odd thing that I use affiliate links for, like some services that I use for content creation. I've got like affiliate links for those. I also use bookshop.org's affiliate program. They are an online retailer for books that support independent bookshops. My only decently paying one though is Temp Drop, which is this like fertility tracker armband thing that I wear in my sleep, which I do highly recommend. It is expensive and obviously it's like very niche, but I do have a code, Hannah15, if you're in the market for a fertility tracker. But yeah, there we go. Affiliates, it's down. It's not a priority of mine at the moment. Then we have podcasts, 0.1%, which is the same as last year. And this is mostly Banging Book Club earnings. I actually think it's all Banging Book Club earnings. Something happened with doing it, my old podcast doing it. It earns no money. There was an absolute mess with my old podcast host in terms of getting paid by them, even though there were still ads running on the podcast. They weren't paying me. I managed to get the podcast back, like me, rather than it being hosted by them. And I moved the back end of it over to Spotify for creators because I just have a lot more control there. But of course, because I'm no longer actively posting there, it's almost as if it's a new podcast on Spotify for creators. And so I don't hit the threshold in terms of downloads to be monetized. It would be nice to be still getting paid for that podcast just so I can pay the website fees for the podcast, which is where we host the show notes and the transcripts. But alas, I do still feel this podcast hole in my life, but I'm getting more and more convinced that the way to do it, and albeit the more expensive way to do it, is independently. Next up, events and speaking, and this is in at 0.9%. Last year it was a 2.7. I did less event stuff this year. It's still one of my favorite ways to get paid, but I'm mostly responding to inbound requests when it comes to speaking rather than actively seeking it out. This last year I hosted Hollyborn's paperback launch for So Thrilled For You, and then I also spoke on a panel at a Patreon Creator Ambassadors event in London. So it was pretty minor this year, but I still had a lot of fun. Next up is brand consultancy. This is in at 0.6%. Last year was 1.4. Last year it included things like giving product feedback to Patreon and also being part of some market research. This one was like an odd one. Never been approached this way before, but it was very much something that was in the kind of like startup VC world. And they interviewed me and were doing research into the experiences of creators. And I was like, yeah, I'll take your startup VC money and tell you about my work. That's the brand consultancy side of it. And then we get onto the creator consultancy side of things. So this came in at 4.5% this year. Last year was a 7.1. So it is lower. Last year, I really threw myself into it and was doing a lot of like FaceTime with clients. And I also had like the momentum of my career change. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this year I've had less clients, but I have been more in like research and development mode. And I'm still not marketing my services like specifically. I did update my website though. That got done. Very pleased with myself with that. But next year, I'm hoping that this will be a little bit higher, especially because I'm really throwing myself into it again with my coaching course. Like I've got like coaching clients currently. However, I am currently doing those at a reduced rate because I need to get my hours up for my coaching qualification, but it's still paying clients and I'm doing more coaching now than I definitely was previously. So it'll be interesting to see like how this increases after I get qualified and you know, where it all takes me. But I really love doing this and I'm definitely focusing more on the coaching side of things rather than the consulting side of things. The only area that I feel really confident in consulting on, which basically means like actually giving advice, whereas with coaching you're not giving advice, is Patreon strategy stuff. So that's something that I still do consultations on. Next up is writing, and this comes in at 0.3%. Last year was a 1.1, and this is just book royalties for doing it. Not the Hormone Diaries. She never earned out her advance, but doing it did. And so I get a little bit of book royalties every year. And then finally, we actually have a new category, which is TikTok. But guys, this came in at 0.03%. I got my first ever TikTok payout. It was tiny, so I'm not really banking on becoming a full-time TikTok creator, but got my very, very small first ever TikTok payout. Very pleased with myself. Okay, are you ready for the year-on-year comparison? This is something that you guys have been asking me to do for so long, and it kind of overwhelmed me. I was like, I don't know how to do that. But I knuckled down, I was there in Google Sheets, and I did it. Dare I say, with the help of Gemini, because honestly, I tried doing it by myself. and I needed a little help. But don't hate me. Don't hate me. I'm human and I'm not a statistician. Can't even say that word. Right. So what I've done for our year-on-year comparison, we've got data from 2018 to 2026. We've got 9 years of data. That's kind of exciting. And what I've done is I've done a year-on-year comparison with our 4 biggest hitter categories. So they are brand deals, Patreon, Adsense, and affiliates. Now I know this year affiliates was like a tiny percentage, but it used to be a really big hitter. So that's why I've included it here. Okay, you ready? You ready? I'm so excited. And for the people who asked, I really hope that these graphs live up to what you had in your head of what you want. So this is a year-on-year comparison of the percentage of total income. So each one of these bar charts is essentially a representation of the pie charts, albeit with just like 4 main categories. So the main thing that we can see, like with the blue is brand deals, is that in 2018, yes, this was like the vast majority of my income. Went down a bit there, increased again, and then it's like steadily come down. And then for the last 5 years, it's been around the 40-50% mark. And I like that. That feels good. The AdSense is an interesting one. That's the red. So in October 2019, that's when I started this channel as my second channel. Previously, I only had the Sex Ed channel. And so that would be reflected from this 2021 onwards. And so it's really interesting to me that that's when I started the second channel. I had 2 YouTube channels. And this one also has more favorable like RPMs, CPMs from YouTube because it's like more brand friendly. And then end of 2023 was when I quit my Sex Ed channel. And so these last 2 years are representative of me purely only having one channel. This one is like part of this year would have been me having 2 channels, part of it just one. This is the last full year of me having 2 YouTube channels. And then the other crazy thing is that Patreon has kind of just continued to increase in the share of my revenue. And then with affiliates, you can see when I was really going hard with the Sex Ed affiliate links, and that was mostly in 2021 and 2022. I had my baby in 2022, and so I think this was me being like, this is something that's in my control and I can work towards it and get this bigger. So that's a pie chart comparison, but now let's do some hard number comparisons. So here we have a breakdown of income from 2018 to 2026. You can see the years along the bottom. I don't personally want to share the hard numbers, and so that's why you can't see them, but you can still see comparatively the different amounts, even if you can't see the actual amounts. And the y-axis, I promise you, is like these lines increase by equal amounts. And so blue is brand deals, and we can see that 2020 was my biggest year when it came to actual amount of money earned from brand deals. And there's our kind of like steady-ish past few years. But basically it's kind of petered off since I had a baby. Then we've got, what do we want to do next? Red, AdSense. AdSense, again, in terms of like hard numbers, has like gradually increased over the years. We peaked in 2022, a little bit of a peak again, like similar in 2023. And then it has like gone down ever so slightly, but remained somewhat steady. So this makes sense as well in terms of dropping an entire YouTube channel. This year of data will account for when I started having 2 YouTube channels. So we've got like 1 YouTube channel, 2 YouTube channels. Whoa, it peaks, amazing. And then we're back to just 1 YouTube channel here. But it's still more than it was before. Then we've got yellow is Patreon, which has increased over the years. We peaked in 2022, it went down a little bit and then up a little bit and then down a bit again and then up again. So it has been a bit of a like roller coaster the last couple of years, but look how close the brand deals and Patreon are. Like, oh, they're almost touching. They're almost touching. And then we can see this representation of affiliates again, like 2021, 2022, big years for the affiliates. And then it's like basically gone down to almost nothing. And I can just show you some of those graphs individually so you can get a cleaner sense. There's brand deals, there's Adsense that gives you a better picture of where my income has gone over the years. There's Patreon. Oh, wow, that looks so interesting, like on its own graph, because look at that huge, like steep increase between 2019 and 2022. And then you can see more clearly the of the last couple of years. And then affiliate income again is this like funny, like wizard's hat shape. There we go. Other people maybe have like better knowledge of data to be able to like interpret those graphs, but I hope you liked them. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed this video and the extra graphs. I also made a pie chart of a breakdown of my expenses, so where the money goes, what I spend it on. I'm not doing a whole video on that this year like I have done in the last few years, mostly because it's basically the same as last year and I kind of got a bit bored myself just like going through everything and writing everything up, and I was like, I'm not gonna make a video about this. But if you do want the pie chart and you do want the information, then it is on my Patreon for free. Anyone can have a look at it and I talk through the breakdown there. But I hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you in the next one. Bye.